Welcome. Peoples of the internets. I wasn't looking at the camera. I'll try to that again.
Let's try this again.
Welcome. Peoples of the internets. Hi. Welcome. Peoples of the internets. I'm Jackie.
I'm Erica.
And welcome back to Justified Delirium. Mm-hmm. We're excited to have you again. We are going to be building on the topic that we talked about last week, which was therapy. Except this week, we're going to be talking about a common misconception people have, which is finding a therapist. It's not always easy.
Right.
It can be really hard to find your perfect soulmate of a psychologist.
Therapist soulmate.
Yeah.
The one.
The one could be a social worker. The one could be a psychologist. The one could be a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. The one could just be like a general counselor.
Some dude on the street. No, just kidding.
I hope not.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
There are some wise folks out there that probably haven't gotten a shot at all. Anyway, we're talking about the popular topic of therapist shopping. Mm-hmm. So like I said, the common misconception typically is that you go and you find a counselor and that's a one-time deal. You find one and you stick with them. And that is just simply not the case. If you are looking for someone, you should find the best person for you who makes you feel comfortable and safe, and helps you be the happier, healthier, and whole version of yourself. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some big topics we have that you should probably consider when you are shopping for a therapist. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those things have to do with your identity. Because bottom line is that this person is going to be someone who you trust and are vulnerable with, and that they should be allies and advocates for different parts of your identity.
And you don't feel judgment or fear
or shame.
Or shame.
Yeah.
Right.
You should feel 100% confident to walk in their office and feel like you can engage in a conversation that will help you along your journey.
Right.
So, some of those topics could be race.
Gender.
Sexual orientation.
Religion.
Could be first language, home language.
Location.
Something specialty.
Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
If you're a parent.
Something else.
There's a lot of other things. Our identities
Your relationship status.
There you go. Your relationship status. Like, our identities have a lot of intersectionalities.
Right.
And
these are just a few.
These are just some of the things that we thought of, and some of the biggest things that I was thinking about when I went to find a therapist. So, for example, I am a white lady, and I feel okay talking to a white woman or a white male about my mental health journey. If you are a person of color, you may not feel comfortable at all talking to a white person about your mental health journey, or you might feel uncomfortable or unsafe in an office with a white person. It could be because you have certain triggers. It could be because you have experienced trauma from white people. If you are a person of color, that is a big thing to consider. Either way, whatever your race is, you should consider what perspective am I bringing into the office, and what perspective is my counselor, therapist, social worker bringing into the office as well, because that will impact your goals together and how you're treated. Yeah. So race is a big one. Another one is gender.
So when it comes to gender, I was thinking, is it really important to me to see a man or a woman? And I honestly don't know the answer to it, which I think is fine, because I know when I want to see a gynecologist, it needs to be a lady. If I'm going to get a massage, it needs to be a lady. But when it comes to conversation, I have some pretty solid men in my life, and I don't have a problem talking to men. But I also identify as like a strong feminist, and I we have a different journey than men.
Yeah, totally.
And so I don't know if I want that shared perspective or if I want a different perspective. So anyways, I honestly don't know what I would want in gender.
It's your flavor. You get to choose your flavor.
Get to decide later.
Another thing that was really important for me was sexual orientation. I am married to a woman. Surprise. And
big reveal.
I came out to you all.
Yeah.
I'm married to a woman, and so when I go into an office and talk about my personal life, if I ever talk about it, which doesn't really come up, but if I talk about it, I want to make sure that that person supports my relationship and also doesn't try to like prod and get to something that I'm actually not feeling just to start that conversation.
Right.
So the first time I was in there, I mentioned that I was married to my wife, and I made it known that I want her to be referred to as my wife, and that was a very received conversation and also a really respected one. So I want to make sure that that part of my identity is maintained with integrity and respect. Right. And if you are someone who doesn't identify as heterosexual, it could be a really scary thing to walk into a place and maybe share stuff about your sexual orientation that you would share with maybe a heterosexual person. That might be really hard. So maybe you want to find someone who specializes in LGBTQ issues. For me, I was if this person doesn't accept that I'm married to a wife, then I'm just going to find another person. So for me, it was not, I feel very confident in that. So it wasn't a huge deal for me. But if you feel like that's something important to you, I would suggest that you look into how you can find a psychologist who specializes in that area. Also, quick note about gender. If you are transitioning, if you are non-binary, you should probably, maybe looking for a man or a woman doesn't make sense for you. Maybe looking for someone who specializes in LGBT issues or who specializes in maybe who they are non-binary. I don't know. You can absolutely search for people who have a specialty and who are advocates for certain communities, and make sure that if you are a non-binary person, that I want you to know that there are people out there who actually specialize in that, and that you should find who you are most comfortable with. The last thing I looked for was a sense of humor.
That's important. Yeah.
Our journeys in mental health, they can be weird and super crazy and
really hard
and also funny.
Hilarious.
Things can happen to you and they're funny, and you should be able to laugh about them with someone. And if that person's a friend, great. But if it's your therapist, that's also great.
Right.
I have laughed so many times at myself or talked about the weirdest things. One time I talked to my therapist about Naked and Afraid for an entire session.
I really love that show.
I know.
So good.
It is really good.
I know.
And I don't think I'd make it, but
no, definitely. I know I wouldn't.
But I enjoy being able to walk into my therapist's office, and if that's what comes up, that's what our conversation's about that day. And someone who can laugh with me is really important. Right. And if you can't laugh with me, then you're not my person, you're not my flavor, and I'm going to move on. So, luckily, I've found that person. You know who you are. So
you're out there.
So those were the big things that I was thinking about when I was looking for a therapist. Those are things that I encourage, if you are looking for a therapist, that you should think about. Erica has never looked for a therapist before. And we were talking about it the other day, and it's kind of like finding, it's kind of like online dating.
So I'm told.
Kind of like online
I don't know.
dating.
I haven't done either.
I haven't either, but it is kind of like it. You have
here's
a profile,
my profile.
Here's their profile.
Right.
Are you a match?
Right.
Well,
here's what I'm looking for.
Today, we're going to introduce our game. It's called Psychobabble. If we were to create an app for this, it would
We
be
might.
called...
We might. So
we're
we
looking
claim
into it.
that.
We do.
We claim it. Ours.
If we were going to create a profile for Erica on Psychobabble, we would, it would look kind of like this. Here's what we got, folks. Erica's Psychobabble profile. First one ever. I'm very excited. Erica, age 28, is looking for a man or woman to provide mental health with a specialty of general anxiety. Mm-hmm. This provider should have a sense of humor, is close to the home or work, is a conversationalist,
Yes.
can meet in person,
Mm-hmm.
does not have to provide meds, but maybe consults with a doctor. Any race or ethnicity will do, English speaking, and is not religiously affiliated. If you're out there, I got a girl for you.
I'm waiting.
She's waiting, so jump on that train.
Yeah.
All right, so that is parts of the questions you should ask when looking for a therapist. There's lots of different sites out there that we can link to this video for you to look for finding a doctor.
Right. One place too that we found was really helpful is Psychology Today. What was it? Therapist Finder, I think. We'll link below so you can look that.
You can filter it. You can find people in your area. It's really helpful. Don't be afraid to get out there and maybe strike out a few times, like dating. You might strike out, and it's okay. Like, there are so many different people out there who will be your flavor. I'm kind of like a vanilla. I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't
She don't like it.
Really not.
She can't. She likes it. She just can't.
I like it. I just can't eat it. But there's lots of different people out there for you. There's lots of options. You should never feel limited, and you should never feel unsafe or uncomfortable or trapped in your therapy sessions. So make sure you're doing your homework, looking for the people who are out there who can support your identity, advocate for you, and be an ally throughout your mental health journey. Any questions, shout them out to us, email, social media.
If you can think of other things that you should consider, please write it or comment below.
If you have ways that you have found a therapist, if you have sites or like resources for us and for our community that we're building, please share them. We want to hear them from you.
Definitely.
We're excited to continue this conversation.
And end the stigma.
Bye.
Yes, we are rolling. Yes.
Great.
Is this working?